What's good with y'all tonight? How you doing? It's your man Donald King. I like to try and sing or something. As you will notice tonight, I'm joined by lovely acne on my nose. Man, just like those masks, man. They make your boy break out. Ruining my button nose. No, I'm just fucking around. What's hilarious is it didn't like those of you who tune in and do it because you like to look at me. So I probably shouldn't worry about that so much. But anyway, hopefully y'all are doing well tonight. Miss Candace in the house. What's good with you, mama? How you doing? You good? Yo, I wanted to talk about something that I experienced earlier today, heading into I guess the subject of this podcast, and you have to forgive me as this like I attempt to dial in. My mind is kind of scattered. My brother Adrian, it's like I was helping him out on a project earlier today. Put a couple of extra coins in my pocket and whatnot, and we're clearing out this house. We're clearing out a house, and it's the house of a person who was hoarding, right? And I couldn't have found a better representation for the identity. You see, this person they'd collected, and it was a couple, but I'm assuming one had passed before the other. And there were a lot of like cool knickknacks and artifacts, but it was mostly junk. It's mostly junk that someone just couldn't bring themselves to throw away. Old pictures and artifacts from when one of them was an educator. They'd collected all this trash. And it's trash to us, but it held sentimental value to them. So much so that they couldn't part with it, even when it became hazardous and began to clutter their space. The reason why I mentioned this is because I couldn't have found a better representation for the identity and how it works in general. Again, the identity is the collection of meanings, symbols, stories, beliefs, habits, practices, social effects, adornments, aesthetic features, and attitudes, actions, and behaviors, whatnot, which sum to form the story the individual actor tells themselves about the world around them and their place and value within it. Through the course of our life, we collect all of these meanings. We collect all these symbolisms, and they're kind of like technologies in this house that I was helping to clear out today. After a while, they date. They become antiquated. They may seem top of the line now, but in a short period of time, they'll become irrelevant. That's exactly how beliefs work. We collect them. We think they define us. We cling to them. And we cling to them longer than we should. So much so that our minds become this cluttered house of paradoxes and conflicting meanings because we didn't know how to ditch beliefs we acquired and sought to define ourselves by. It was a perfect analogy. And when you're walking through this place, you see a timestamp of when this person stopped growing and evolving as a person. You can walk in and immediately you're hit with 1974. The color scheme, the motif, the technology. There are a few new trinkets added in here and there, which they collected through the years. But you can see when, where, and how they stopped growing and evolving. Which leads us into the subject of tonight's podcast. Trauma. What is it? The reason why it's important to talk about what trauma is because trauma lays the foundation for the identity. Now, as I mentioned, the identity is the story the individual actor tells themselves about the world around them and their place and value within it. However, there's another side to that because the identity is also a weapon. It is a weapon. We treat it as a tool, but it's a weapon. It's a thing we use to coerce compliance or extort favors or considerations from others with. The identity is a direct product of trauma. A narcissist is a person who's been severely traumatized, who uses their identity as a weapon. They go around attempting to compete against, subvert and subdue any and everyone and any and everything that threatens to either conflict with or invalidate this cocoon they wrap themselves in so tightly. The identity is a product of trauma. And people are like, oh, that can't be true. It can't be true. The identity can't be a product of trauma. But it is. You ever see somebody who's walking around chest thumping, larger than life, aggressive beta? Something traumatized them. Something traumatized them so deeply that they feel the need to compete against anything and everything that could possibly steal attention from them. What is trauma? I asked that question before, but what is trauma? I'll explain it to you. Trauma is not just a perception-altering event that occurs. Now, the perception-altering event is what causes trauma, but that's not what trauma is. Trauma is the feeling of disempowerment, the feeling of helplessness the individual actor experiences whenever something injures them in a way that they are unable to prevent or fight back against. Trauma is not the injury itself, it's the feeling of powerlessness, the feeling of helplessness, the lack of control. Anytime you trigger a person who is narcissistic, anytime you trigger a person who's helplessly dependent on their identity, and they use it as their most primary tool for surviving, making it through society, what you're doing is taking them back. When you trigger someone, what you're doing is taking them back to a space and time where they felt powerless. They want to fight for their life. That's what cognitive dissonance, that's what aggression is. It's people fighting for their life because something or someone takes them back to a space, a point in time where they were powerless to defend themselves. It's why I speak so much about my own traumas. I was physically abused for most of my childhood and up through adolescence some. I was bullied. Not only that, I was ignored. I was made invalid. I was silenced. I was made invisible. Now, all of these traumas that I incurred, they resulted in me becoming a narcissist, wherein all of a sudden I got a little bit of power because I had some muscles. A couple of girls thought I was cute. And I became deathly afraid of losing that power. The fear of someone coming along and taking it away from me, it made me It made me remember when I had no control. It made me remember when anybody could just act against me. It made me remember when I had no power. So, through being narcissistic, I became aggressive and highly competitive. What drove my desire to compete? Was it personal excellence? No. It was the fear of being disempowered again. The reason I come down so hard on aggressive betas is because I used to be one, at least by way of behavior. I was scared. I was scared of being disempowered, and anybody who came along that, or who undermined or invalidated the story I told myself about the world around me and my place and value within it, while they were a direct threat, weren't they? They're someone I had to defeat. Someone I had to prove I was superior to. You take this into the frame of relationships. A lot of people are very, very aggressive in relationships because they're afraid of being alone. They push people away, or they try to control, dominate, and subdue their mates because they're afraid of being disempowered. They're afraid of the feeling of loneliness they experienced that became the source of their trauma. Maybe a parent abandoned them or wasn't there for them. Maybe someone they loved and who they counted on for security. Maybe that person wasn't there when they were needed most. What a lot of people don't understand is the socialization process itself is traumatization. The socialization process is traumatization, and I'll get into that in just a second. Sister Candace says, they literally give the fight for their life energy. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. People are scared. People are scared. So they put on these larger than life costumes, and they surround themselves with groups of people that tell them they matter and that they're valuable, all because they're afraid of returning to that space wherein they're disempowered. The socialization process is traumatizing. You may not think so, but I want you to consider this. I know you're tired of fighting, so am I. The socialization process is traumatizing, and I want you to consider this. Kids get ripped away from their parents to go to school. They have to leave their houses. They have to get up at times that their bodies are not ready to arise. They have to learn to be in a place, or else they have to learn to be in a place on time, or else they're intimidated. You go to school, you have to regurgitate the information or cite and demonstrate that you understand how to use formulas, or else. That or else is always hanging over your head, isn't it? You learn to fear being wrong. Pardon me. You learn to fear being wrong. You learn to fear being ostracized. You learn to fear being left behind. You can't excel at your own pace. You can't excel at your own pace. You have to be with the crowd or ahead of the crowd. It gets even worse when you introduce sports, because you can't be a loser now. When you introduce competition to the mix. People are hurt. They're scared. And they are taught from very, very young ages. Trauma is a part of life. You are meant to live in society. You are meant to exist in society as a function of society. And in order to become a function of society, you must be indoctrinated. You must denounce all of your natural inclinations and do what is socially acceptable and do what is socially correct. And you have these young, impressionable minds that need to be saved, who need to be saved, being sent off to the slaughterhouse by their caretakers who are supposed to protect them. They have their imagination stripped away from them. They're taught conformity. They're brutalized. There's always that what if creeping up behind you. What if you're not enough? You learn the same thing in church. You know, I was talking to my brother Adrian earlier today, and we grew up in the same faith system. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. And brother Adrian, man, we were talking about traumatization, right? And I was telling him how I was sexually traumatized by the religion I was raised in. And nobody touched me. I didn't have any weird shit like that. I was made to think of sex and sexual desires and anything related to sex that didn't sum to man and wife. I was trained to think it was dirty and ugly and disgusting in the eyes of God. That having such thoughts meant that I was bad, or that I wasn't focused enough on Jehovah. We were taught that we could somehow barter away our physiology with deep social acting, or for deep social acting. That we could somehow suppress our natural urges, and we should be able to suppress our natural urges by simply acting like they weren't there. I've been sexually aware since I was like 4. I've been hungry for women that entire time. Since I was 4. I have a naturally high libido, but that repression shit, it exacerbated it even more. So as I grew up, I had all sorts of hang-ups about sex. I had all sorts of issues regarding women and sexuality and what, they should be and how they should be in terms of chastity and whatnot. I'm very happy that through that faith system, I did learn how to form authentic bonds with women. So it's like I don't treat sex like it's a sport. I don't just fuck off on any female, but it was traumatizing to think that God hated you for a natural inclination, that you were being judged and you were going to be punished for a thing that was built into you. It's traumatizing. It's disempowering. So instead of being able to find my way into healthy relationships, I got into a lot of relationships. And again, when I was a toxic nice guy, I was very controlling. I was afraid of being disempowered from access to sex. She'll take it away from me. Yeah. That's how it went, man. That's how it went. And, the reason I talk about my own traumas is because everybody tries to act their way through theirs. Everybody's all chin up and chest out and rah-rahing and shit. Nobody wants to admit, hey, I was traumatized. Got homeboys I've known for decades whose parental figures weren't there and who left them to fend for themselves. And the only thing they want to do is compete. compete for attention, compete to be seen, compete to matter. Because anytime someone matters even a little bit more than them, anytime someone has a little bit more pull or a little bit more je ne sais quoi, it takes them back to that moment of being disempowered where the one who they needed, the one who should have been there to uplift them and protect them, said, "You're not important enough. I can't see or hear you above my desire to take care of me." So they have all this anger and aggression and animosity. They think it's directed towards the people who trigger them, but no. It all traces back to this moment of being disempowered. I asked a question in a post the other day. You were traumatized. How did your trauma affect you? Did it make you brave, or did it make you cowardly? My traumas made me brave, but I endured some crazy traumas, man. Like my biological mother, man, she used to abuse me and my brother, and I kid you not, man. I mean, she literally whipped us like slaves, dog. She took a crutch. She took a crutch, an old school crutch that had that centerpiece, and she took extension cord, and she cut that shit up into strips. And she threaded the strips through the end of this whip, this end of this crutch thing, and peeled back the enamel so that the wire was showing. And she would tie us to a doorknob, and she would whip us like slaves. She was mentally ill, so, I mean, it's all right. I mean, I'm not tripping off it too much, but I remember one time, right before she did something crazy to injure us, to transfer her aggression and her rage into us, I remember distinctly looking in her eye and not seeing a woman, but a scared little girl in a woman's body. I'll never forget that image. When we got taken away from her and put into foster care, I always wanted to get back to her, but not because I wanted her to take care of me. I wanted to take care of her. She passed on a few years back, and never quite made it back to her, but apparently God has a different calling on my life. But through all those events, it helped me reach a point of resolution within myself wherein I'll be the one to break the cycle. If somebody has to step up and be brave enough to set down their identity and set down their sword and shield and take humiliation and whatever comes along with it, if no one's going to step up and do it, why not? Why not me? My trauma made me brave. For that, I'm grateful. Very grateful. Let's see. Sister Candace comes back in. Thank you for sharing your story, Donald. Very brave of you. Well, I appreciate you, ma'am. Thank you kindly. You know, I want to make it clear that bravery is okay, man. We get it in our minds that being larger than life and projecting this image to others that that is impervious to pain We get it in our minds that having an impregnable identity is how we move. It's how we demonstrate value to the world around us. But I'll say it like this. The identity is a weapon. It's something you use to cut others down with. Real bravery is facing reality naked and empty-handed. I don't take my identity to reality. I try to understand reality on its terms as it comes to me. I don't carry all the meanings and symbols and beliefs I've internalized to reality. No, I try to observe things in real time on their terms. I don't say, how does this conform to me? How does this match my inner story? How does this validate me? I say, no, where, how is this thing? What is this thing? How does this work? How does this function mutually independent of how I perceive or experience it? What is this shit? What is it? Instead of going around and trying to say, this is this, and this is that, and this is this, and this is that. I lead with questions. What is this? What is that? How does this work? I don't show up trying to show how or demonstrate how much I know. I show up trying to learn. I don't try to make reality bend to me. I try to meld with it. And that is bravery, in my view. So yeah, it's not perfect, man. It's never going to be, but we've all been traumatized. Even the people at the top of society have been traumatized. You need to understand that. Maybe they didn't have parents that beat on them all the time and took their anger and frustration out on them because they were poor and felt powerless. Maybe they didn't have people directly violating them sexually or any of those other things. Maybe they didn't deal with that. But they were still traumatized with stories. Hey, if you don't keep enough of this money, someone's gonna make you feel unsafe. And these little kids, these impressionable minds are like, ah! If you don't protect your people, they're gonna come and kill us all. Ah! Everybody's been traumatized. They've been disempowered. Disempowered with stories. Disempowered with direct assaults. Disempowered with psychological assaults. And usually during their formative years. So when they do become empowered, what do? They act like the ones who traumatized them. They become the little kids. No one was there to help. I'm here to help them. I'm here to help as many of you as I can. I know what it's like. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to feel powerless and to get a taste of power and then to fear having it taken away. Trauma, brother, I'm sorry, the word! Love this man. Hey, what's good with you, boy? Boy, how do you inspect familiar patterns? I might need a point of clarity on what you mean by that. I'm going to take a shot at it, and I'm sure that you'll comment here in just a second to clarify. But if I understand you correctly, when I inspect similar patterns of traumatization, and I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, I'm always looking to principles. Again, avatar perspective, it lets me see everything in principles. So when I look at somebody who's been traumatized at like the upper echelons of society, they have the story of uprising weaponized against them from very, very young ages, in the same way that a kid who maybe grows up in a poor area has their parents beat the shit out of them and traumatize them, show them that they're powerless in this situation. And everybody's just sort of clamoring for power. They're clamoring for authority. They have to make themselves safe. I have to create a cocoon wherein I'm safe because everything around me is dangerous, and I have to expand my realm of influence so that the entire world comes to match my inner story and or my cocoon. Let me see. Sister Candace comes in. I realize now that I have a lot of repressed childhood trauma that I'm almost embarrassed to even admit out loud, let alone ask for help working through. And the repression itself is traumatic too. Yeah, dude. The repression is traumatic as a motherfucker. I mean, I'm sitting here and it's like, my libido was insane. And I'm sitting here and it's like anything that was a woman that was around me. I'm sitting here and it's like there's a heavy breathing. And I was adopted too. So it's like, they weren't my biological sisters or any of those other things. And, I'm saying when I was really young, it's weird, but it's like, yeah, man, it's like I'm sitting here and it's like anything that was, my appetite for women was just it was razor sharp. And just having to repress that and deny that and to try to negotiate my physiology away with deep social acting, and then coming to believe that I was evil because I couldn't. It's fucking traumatizing, man. It's traumatizing as shit. I saw it was a young girl who it was a couple of girls in our Kingdom Hall, man, who end up engaging in some premarital sex. And I remember the great level of disdain I felt for them and contempt I felt for them. And it was so deep. Like, how dare you? How dare you? Right? How dare you? And then, conversely, I had that same fear of what would happen if I did something like that. People would be, how dare you? And it's like, by the time I actually did have sex, which was well before I was married and well before shit. I'm not gonna get into that. Maybe in another video. But yeah, man, it's like I thought I was gonna die. I'm like, oh God, you hate me. Darkness, everybody, darkness. God hates me. Everybody, they're gonna find out. My life is over. My life is over. What? Am I gonna be homeless? What? Am I a street urchin now? I'm a street urchin. Oh shit. That's how it went, man. I was wild in. It's crazy. But yeah, man, it's very traumatizing. Just having to deny. But denial is the mother of all perversion. And, there are a lot of people who, through their devotion to whatever faith system they give themselves to, they try to barter their physiology for deep social acting, and it's never a good exchange. You lose that battle every time. So yeah, man, it's wild, man. It's wild. But it's something that you have to face. You got to, like right now, everything that you see me talking about tonight, everything that you see me doing, it entails some level of bravery, but the majority what I want people to see is that it doesn't get better until you stop clinging to it. It's just like that house we were clearing out earlier today. I mean, the motherfucker is filled with mold. The house is like, it seems like it's on its last legs. Hopefully they can refurb it. But I mean, all of this because it wasn't taken care of, because people were more concerned with collecting for their identities than they were creating a flow state of space around them. You can't hold on to this shit forever. All of that, all those traumas you've collected through the course of your life, that's emotional garbage. It's emotional garbage. Those feelings of disempowerment and the subsequent defense mechanisms you created towards preventing disempowerment, again, it's emotional garbage. And it's just like this house. Cleaning it out, and we're looking at all these effects these people collected, trying to enhance their identities that they were too afraid to let go of. That in the end just became an edifice to something that no longer exists. You look at all these photos, all these pictures of Jesus hanging on the wall that are faded and torn, that have decayed. So many Bibles in this place. So many Bibles. The ghost of this identity just became this huge pile of clutter that gets removed with no thought, care, or concern for the intentions behind collecting it. That's how it works in reality, man. Yeah, it's a wild day. It's a wild day, but you know, you learn, you earn, and you turn, and you burn. Gotta get her done. Get her done. Why do I keep getting zits? Oh my God, it's bad. You know, it's like I think my skin is tightening back up again because, you know, I've been doing my vegan thing again. And unfortunately, maybe I didn't exfoliate well enough because now all of a sudden the acne is back with a vengeance. Like, bitch, you take this. And I'm sitting here like, my button nose. No, this is a joke. I don't have a button nose. I like to talk shit. But we've all been traumatized, guys. There isn't a single person. If you've survived the socialization process, if you've been to school, if you've been to church, if you spend any time around your family and they were abusive or neglectful, or you don't know where the trauma can come from. You don't. What honesty and reasoning helps you do is face the trauma and then trace it back to a source. When I was down in Costa Rica a couple of years ago, there was a woman who was doing something called body talk on me. And, you know, she was performing her craft. And I was at a resort for healing and wellness and whatnot. And she said, she tapped on my heart, tapped around my heart. She's like, you have some pent-up energy here. And I'm like, pent-up energy here? What you mean? What you mean? I'm good. I'm an avatar. I'm good. I'm straight. Because I've been down here around this resort. And all these people, I'm talking. And people gather around and they listen. Who are you? Where are you from? Why do you know these things? Who do you study? So I'm like, I'm an avatar. I'm good. She gets around my heart and she taps, does her little body talk thing. And she's like, you have some pent-up trauma around your heart. Someone abandoned you. And I'm like, I guess my mom. And I started bawling. Like, it was ugly cry. I got deep into it, man. It's a deep cry. A soul cleansing cry. And I had to face that trauma, man. Not only did she abuse me, but after she abused me, I wasn't even good enough to fight to get back. And that hurt. So I came into a lot of relationships with that energy. Hey, don't go anywhere. Please don't leave. Don't leave. Don't leave. Damn, I'm way off tonight. Don't leave me, girl. Please stay with me tonight. Damn. Can't get my voice to do what the notes do, but Yeah, long story short, I had to face my shit, man. Even being an avatar, even reaching enlightenment, even being able to impress people with all the ways I'm able to dial in, it didn't mean shit because it's like, you know what? I still had some shadow work to do. I still had to get in there and dig out them old wounds and face them. I had to face that shit. And y'all are better than me. So if I can face my shit, then why can't you? Sister Andrea Nicole, what's good? Let me see. Yeah, I remember the. Do you remember the time? Yeah, it was wild, man. It's wild. It's been a hell of a ride, though, right? Hell of a ride. And see, I wouldn't be in the space that I'm in right now to explain all of this stuff if I didn't face the trauma. If I didn't deal with it where it was and on its terms instead of trying to let my pride do all the thinking for me and let my pride make all the decisions for me. No, I had to walk into that shit. I had to stand in the flame of truth and let everything that wasn't real get burned away. What you see before you is a phoenix. And what's left when all the bullshit got stripped. All the bravado, all the chest thumping, all the shit that the aggressive betas do. I come down hard on you aggressive betas because I understand why you do it. You don't do it because you're tough. You don't do it because you're manly or womanly. You don't do it because of your beliefs or your convictions. You do it because you're scared. It takes one to know one. Rock with your boy. I get you straight. We get you brave for real. Not deep social acting. We get you tight for real. Sister Andrea comes back in. We all faced our own traumas in spite of how things looked on the outside. That's absolutely true. You know, we learned how to deal with everything by just acting the part. And it's ironic because everybody who's commented on this post today so far, all of us were raised Jehovah's Witnesses. All of us. Candace, Absurd, Andrea. We had enough time in that faith system for it to make a lasting impression on us. And we don't know how deep the traumatization goes. And here's the thing, I really want to make this clear. I don't hold any contempt for the Jehovah's Witness faith system. I'm very grateful to it for giving me a moral foundation and helping me understand the importance of not competing and not engaging in like sports and things of that nature to a degree that, you know, we became aggressive betas and or ideologues. Like, you know, where everything became about competition and contest. Like, there were a lot of really great principles that this faith system was sort of founded on, but they kind of got lost in the sauce chasing their ideal of authority as opposed to doing what they claimed was their calling, and that is being and or pursuing and chasing the truth. The truth. How are you going to tell the truth? How are you going to be the truth? How are you going to know the truth if you can't stop acting or believing? Belief and truth are mutually exclusive things. You can believe stories. Truth and stories are never one and the same. I choose to pursue truth, not simply believe that I am truth or the things that I seek to define myself by are the truth. Yeah. Yeah. Sister Candace, yeah. And the exclamation point. All of us, we were raised J-Dub. That's how it goes, man. Oddly enough, the majority of the super sharp people who I know and interact with as adults were all raised J-Dub. It had a lot of good benefits. And if you can extract all the trauma that you sort of collected through it and just kind of walk away with the good, then you come out on top. At least that's how I see it. So yeah, get her done, son. Get her done. My zit is glistening. Anyway, I'm so mad at that. Why? Mess up my nose. God was like, humble yourself, boy. And I said, yes, Lord. Man, I'm telling you, man, we were in that house, man. It was so moldy, man. It's like, I'm feeling a little congested. That place it was rough. And there's still a lot of work left to do there, but it reminded me very much of everything that went into me purging myself of my identity. I had to drag that shit out of me, man. And just when you think that you cleared one room, look into another room and there's a whole new pile of shit to clear. But you got to be able to do that work. You got to be willing to do that work. I was like that house. I was full of a bunch of feelings and beliefs and, oh, I'll hold on to this for this reason. I'll hold on to that for that reason. And instead of clearing the house, I kind of walked away from it. So yeah. Eat the meat, spit the sticks. Exactly. That's what it is. At first I thought that was a reference to me going vegan again, but no, you were talking about getting the nutrients from the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. Yeah, that's it. Eat the meat, spit the sticks. I like that. I might have to jack that from you. Yeah, well, that's what it is, man. Honesty. You can't be a social actor and honest at the same time. It's one or the other. You can't cling to your identity and be honest at the same time. It's one or the other. You're either going to try to stick by your feelings and your beliefs and the meanings you've internalized, or you're going to try and find out how shit is in reality on reality's terms. But you can't do both. Trauma pushes you deeper and deeper into the identity. Bravery draws you further and further out of the identity. The question is, which will you choose? Bravery is in theme with reality. Bravery is the willingness to face reality and adjust to it on its terms. And cowardice is letting the trauma get the best of you and push you deeper and deeper into the identity, deeper into the social self. The more you go into the social self, the more you draw into the identity, is the more you give into the path of corruption, and or the more you become a child of what religion refers to as devil or Satan. And the more you get honest is the more that you get in theme with truth. And as the OG Jesus put it so eloquently, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The identity is a prison. Truth is the key to that prison. Honesty is the key to truth. Which master will you serve? Which path will you choose? That's on you, my friends. I already know what path I'm walking. Yo, my people. Y'all already know what it is. Shooting this on Facebook Live. But y'all can also catch me on Instagram. And, I'm at Avatar Cycle XIII or Avatar Cycle 13. I got a lot of content up there. Also, you can check me out on YouTube. I post all of these videos to my YouTube channel after the fact, just in case you want to circle back and, check out something I said, if it was worthy of being checked out or whatever. Also, you can find me on Medium. I post a lot of content to that site. And I really need a manager. I need a team. It is so much. This is the problem with being an avatar. This is the problem. You either producing and or translating principles into English, or you're managing production. You're producing or managing production, but you can't do both. So it's like I get spread kind of thin being on wearing so many different hats. And at a certain point I need a team. So if you want to help me build to a team, you can always join the Patreon family. Avatar Cycle XIII, that's Avatar Cycle 13. And then also if you ever get any sort of benefit or love from what I do in these podcasts, and you just want to bless your boy with a little bit of a see you pimp, pass the collection plate or whatever, you can always toss me something over on Cash App at Donnie Kang. All proceeds go towards building this up to a larger platform. Again, I wanna reach as many people as I can before I'm out of this body. Anywho, yo, man. But main thing that I want to say before I get off here is, guys, we all been traumatized. Traumatizing. Again, trauma is the feeling, the sense of disempowerment a person experiences whenever they're injured, either physically or psychologically. And we've all been traumatized to some way, in some way, shape, or form, or to some degree. The socialization process itself is traumatizing. So you see all these aggressive people out here, all these angry people, all these bitter and wrathful people out here. All these people, they're just people who never learned how to deal with their trauma. People who never learned how to deal with their hurt. Little kids in different aged bodies, still waiting for someone to come back and heal them and pick them up from when they were hurt. Go to them with compassion and open arms. Don't let them walk all over you. But when you see them, you see the hurt. When you get your other eyes, your ascended eyes, you see the hurt in them. You be like, "Come here, motherfucker. Hug it out with your boy." I love y'all. I appreciate you. Y'all have yourselves a wonderful night. It's your man. I'm out.